That's another great thing about the craft beer industry in Michigan is we talked to a lot of other brewery owners at the time to gather information, and everyone was so approachable and so nice and shared their information that they have and their advice about opening a brewery. I feel like you don't get that in many industries because it's so competitive. And it wasn't even just the breweries. It was other restaurant owners were also very helpful when we asked questions.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff DuVernois. I'm continuing my trek through South Haven. And as we were looking online and places to go, and I found this nice little brewery place to go to, what I didn't know at the time, apparently, is that this is the unofficial hub of all things that are South Haven. If you want to go where the locals go, then you will definitely want to check this place out. Today, I am sitting at Three Blondes Brewing, located in South Haven, and sitting with me is blonde number 2.
That's me.
That would be Carrie Troyer. Carrie, how are you?
Good, thanks. Cliff, how are you doing today?
I am doing awesome. Thank you for asking. Carrie, why don't you tell us, what is Three Blondes Brewing?
Three Blondes Brewing is a brewery and a restaurant in South Haven. We're not right in the heart of downtown. That means we have parking spots for y'all because we're just on the other side of I-196, on the east side of I-196, and we have a parking lot, so that's always good. People complain about parking downtown, but downtown is wonderful too. So we're a brewery and a full-service restaurant, and we opened in 2018, so we've finished 6 years, made it through COVID, and we're still here now.
Sweet Moses, that's incredible. Now, how many brews do you have on tap?
We have 14 beers on tap. Well, 2 of those are ciders that we get locally. And surprise, we're also working on our distiller's license. So maybe by the time this airs, we'll also have cocktails.
This is oh my God. So there's so much here to unpack. But let's go back to the beginning. Why don't you tell us, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
We grew up right here in South Haven. The 3 blondes are me and my sisters, Megan and Amanda, blonde number 1 and blonde number 3. And we went to South Haven Public Schools here, grew up. Our parents also went to school here. So we are second generation South Haven gals. Of course, though, we moved away because we thought we were too cool for this town once we graduated. At least 2 of us moved away.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we didn't realize how good we had it here in South Haven with the beautiful lake and the beautiful beaches. I mean, I only got to Grand Rapids, so I didn't get that far. But then as the breweries, craft beer movement kind of spiked around, when it was that 2010s, maybe.
Right, somewhere around there, yeah.
I was living in Grand Rapids next to little founders, old founders, before they got big. And that kind of started my interest in craft beer. And there was tons of breweries opening in Grand Rapids at the time. So that was kind of one of my favorite things to do. But then when I'd come back to little old South Haven, we didn't have a brewery to go to. So that kind of got the wheels turning a little bit, just a little bit.
Right.
Why isn't there a brewery in South Haven yet? And at the time there wasn't. This was in probably 2014. So my siblings thought the same thing. And one day we were maybe drinking a little too much together and thought, why don't we do it? At that point, it was just kind of a joke. That was funny. Ha ha. What do we know about breweries except for drinking beer?
Right.
But it planted the seed. So then we started talking, and it was still booming at the time. It's kind of leveled out now, but hey, we're still here. I'm a finance gal, and so is my husband. And so we put together a business plan. There were so many Excel spreadsheets in that plan. It was such a solid plan. I had so much fun doing that. And we thought, hey, this is a viable plan.
Right.
But we need a brewer and a restaurant manager because we don't know how to do those things.
Yes. Why did you decide to move to Grand Haven?
Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids, I'm sorry.
I had gotten a job there. I went to school in Kalamazoo at Kalamazoo College, and then my first job was at an accounting firm in Grand Rapids. So that's why I moved to Grand Rapids.
So is that what you studied, was accounting?
Yes.
Well, that would explain the addiction to spreadsheets.
Yes, it comes in a lot of handy when you're opening a business. And I think that's where a lot of breweries you go to, they were opened by brewers, which also makes sense. You have a passion for brewing. You want to share that with everybody. But sometimes that's hard if you are really good at brewing but don't know the business side of things. So at least we had the business side of things kind of wrapped up. We had experience in running a business, but we did not have experience brewing beer. But don't worry, we personally, the blondes don't brew the beer. We hired the experts for that. So
Oh, I thought this was going to be a cool part of your story.
I know, I'm sorry. The funny part is oh, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we tried when we knew we were going to do this. We were like, okay, let's get a homebrew kit and see how it goes. Oh my gosh, it was a
Oh my
disaster.
goodness.
So, you guys, I promise you, we leave the beer brewing to the experts who actually are trained in this, not the blonde. The blondes aren't brewing the beer. So, there's that inside scoop.
If we go back here, because you were talking about when you were in Grand Rapids and the kind of like the microbrewery thing was really starting to take off. And what is it about beer that made you like it? And I say that because, it could have been easily wine. It could have been very, very easily spirits, because Michigan is known for all of that stuff. But what in particular about beer attracted you to it?
Well, I think beer just comes off as much more approachable. Wine is a little intimidating. Cocktails are delicious, but also can be
Deadly.
Yeah, right. Also, yeah. So I just feel like beer just feels more approachable and still maybe more of a, I don't want to say family friendly, but my family will go to breweries. It seems like a more inviting atmosphere sometimes, especially that you can bring the whole family in. So it's not saying everyone's drinking in the family, but it just feels it's approachable.
When you come back here and there's not a microbrewery that's in the area, and for some reason or another, you and your husband decided to put together a business plan. Was this just something you put together and let's just see what happens with the numbers? Or were you already committed at that point?
Once we did the plan, we were pretty much going to do it, but we started, we really flushed out the plan. That's another great thing about the craft beer industry in Michigan is we talked to a lot of other brewery owners at the time to gather information, and everyone was so approachable and so nice and like shared their information that they have and their advice about opening a brewery. Like, I feel like you don't get that in many industries because it's so competitive, but everyone was just so welcoming. Like, let us know what you need. And it wasn't even just the breweries. It was other restaurant owners were also very helpful when we asked questions.
Because you have the food here too.
Yes. Food is a big part of our business too.
Now, as you're putting this together and you're doing the research, putting together the spreadsheets, had you already at this point in time, the three sisters, like at what point did you all sit down and say, these numbers are good, let's start moving forward?
Well, it was the sisters and the husbands. And when
it really was a family affair.
When the discussion came, like, okay, we're going to do it by couple. How much are you willing to put into this? And we each kind of gave our number. And my husband and I, we were the low ball, like we weren't ready to commit all the way. But then we're like, well, we don't want less ownership than my sister. So we have to do as much as the sisters, So we all amped up like the maximum that we could do that was an even amount to get it started. And it was terrifying, like there's my savings account.
Drained.
But like into the brewery, but we all committed so we could all have equal ownership because I wasn't going to be the one that had less ownership and let my sisters rule over me. So we all put it in an equal amount and it was terrifying. And then we had to keep putting in more amounts equally as the process continued. But hey, again, we're still here. It worked out.
Yeah, it must have worked out. Let me ask you this question here, because it seems like most of the time when I talk to somebody, they're like, you know what, I got an idea, and then they chase it and figure it all out later. You guys decided to do the analyzing up front. Is there anything in the analysis that kind of stands out to you that like maybe you're like really surprised you that signaled to you like, hey, this really could work?
Well, just the fact that there was net income at the end helped, but we found we were way off on a few things. Like we thought our distribution would be a lot higher, which is selling product outside, not just in your restaurant, but to stores and restaurants. And that's plateaued a little bit as cocktails get more, ready to drink cocktails and the seltzers. So that didn't really materialize, but the restaurant ended up being a lot bigger than we thought it would be, and the volume and all that. And what's also surprising about breweries is merchandise. I just love people who go to breweries buy merchandise, and it's such a nice extra. It's advertising and just an extra revenue stream with all the t-shirts that we sell. It's so cool that people that go to breweries buy t-shirts. I love it.
Yeah.
And so lucky that they do.
Now, is that part of your original plan, was to sell merchandise?
Yes, but we thought we'd sell, I look back on it, I think we thought we'd sell like 10 t-shirts a month or something. And in the summer, we'll sell 100 in a week. Like I had no idea the extent that the people who go to breweries will buy merch. And it's been it was a nice surprise.
Now, where did the name Three Blondes come from? I mean, I know you and your sisters are blonde, but
Yes.
like, how did you come up with the name Three Blondes?
I think my little sister will claim she thought of it herself. We went through, I don't even know what else was on the drawing board. I think once we said that, we just landed there. I guess it worked. Some people think it might be Three Blonde Beers, but it is really, I mean, we do have blonde beers, of course, but it is named after us, even though some of us have to dye our hair to maintain that image. That's me. Okay, guys, that's me.
I wasn't going to ask.
It's okay. It's not real.
So let me ask you this question here, because now you go through, you've got the business plan. You guys have now all ponied up the money. I am thinking now of getting the space, getting the people on board, getting the liquor license, getting the alcohol license, getting inspectors, doing all the, and I think to myself, there's probably easier things to do in life, like brain surgery, than open up a brewery. Talk to us about that process of just trying to get the doors open.
Cliff, don't bring that up in my memory bank.
Are you still talking to your therapist?
Tough. Yes, it was really hard. So, okay, the part of the sad story is my sister's husband was really, and I say was because he died 4 years ago suddenly. It was awful. But he was really instrumental in getting, that's another tangent we can go on. He was very instrumental in getting this started. He's a project manager in his real life, engineer, project manager, and he was so focused on task lists and assigning things. And he was really the one driving the research and the inspections and like, here's what you have to do before you can do this and this and this. And if we didn't have him, this wouldn't have happened at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So he was just really good at driving the task management.
Was there ever a point in time when this was all coming together that you thought to yourself, this is never going to work? We're never going to get open.
Yes. Well, when the construction bid came in, I don't know, 25% higher than the construction company told us, we had to go get another loan to afford it. We were building in winter. So, as there was labor shortages and we were worried about getting the building enclosed before winter came and it wasn't happening, just watching like it snow in the building because it wasn't enclosed yet. It was terrifying. But that's one thing we said, because a lot of breweries were opening at the time and a lot of people would have an opening target date on a sign.
Right.
And I said, sisters, if we're committing to, we said opening spring 2018, I said, there is no way we're missing this deadline. Like there are so many places that don't hit that, and I don't want to be one. And we opened June 14th, which we had, 6 days to spare until summer, and we said spring. So we made it, and I was so thankful.
So actually, yeah. So when you talk about that work, especially like during that time of the day, were you pretty much working like 24 hours a day? Were you getting any sleep? Was it just one more thing? How did that work out?
I did just go through an old email where my brother-in-law, the one who passed away, had mentioned he had already put in 1,000 hours of work on top of his full-time job. I luckily towards close to opening up my real job, let me go part-time, so I could commit my other part-time to getting this up and running because it really did take a lot of...
So you were all still working as this was going on?
Yes. I'm the only one so far that has quit my job to do this full-time. So...
Okay. What time... So you're still working at the time you're putting this on, which, by the way, this is a miracle.
It was.
Right? I mean, and I think about how fortuitous it is that there's 6 of you now because somebody can always be here, to be working as well. So, my next question to you is that as you're approaching that soft deadline, what were you doing to spread the word that this was going to happen and get people to come here? Was it purely just let's hang a sign out front? How did you do that?
We had this sign, and then we started getting into the social media. That was fun, actually. And we could differentiate ourselves a little bit from all the other breweries that are opening because we're 3 women at the forefront of the brand, which is still rare. I mean, there's plenty still women brewers and women that own breweries, but in 2018, it was a little less common. So we stuck out a little bit and had a way to differentiate ourselves. So we tried to play on that and get ourselves in the social media instead of just hiding behind a screen. We put ourselves out there, which is fun. Like we have a good time together.
Yeah. So you go through the opening of this place and, people are starting to come in, trickle in. Talk to us about maybe some of those early, I don't want to say nightmares, but
it was tough.
learning opportunities. That came up, that popped up that you were just completely caught off guard on.
Well, seeing as I'd never even worked in a restaurant, that was extremely eye-opening to me. And we had hired a front of house manager that ended up backing out about a week before we opened. So our
Ooh.
general manager was trying to do that plus manage the back. So it was difficult, and I learned real fast that how I could try to step in and be of assistance. But it was a little rocky at the beginning, but we had a lot of staff and a lot of people with a lot of experience. Like the servers that we hired, a lot of them weren't brand new. They had been in the industry. So we leaned on their experience, and thank goodness they carried us. So
No, that's actually really good. And the fact that you're relying on these other people to come in and do this. So when you talk about like the experience, like is there a couple of things that you learned that you thought was like, hey, that's like pretty clever? Are you glad that your staff pointed that out to you?
I'm sure there are many of those things. They've had so many good ideas along the way, just how to organize the restaurant, even the layout of things and just efficiencies that I would not have seen. But they've been, a lot of our servers have been doing this for a long time. And so I can't think of a specific example, but they just, thank goodness we had them.
Yeah, you had that experience to rely on.
Yes.
For our audience, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. Today, we're talking with Carrie Troyer, blonde number 2 of Three Blondes Brewing, located in South Haven. And we will be back after the break. Hey, if you are enjoying these great interviews, just take a moment and go to totalmichigan.com/join, and you can get these episodes sent directly to your inbox because there's a lot more great stories coming. See you there. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff DuVernois. Today, we're talking with Carrie Troyer of Three Blondes Brewing, located in South Haven. Carrie, before the break, we were talking about the absolute insanity of opening up your doors and trying to keep all the wheels on the cart, so to speak. What I would like to do is, and you mentioned this before, is I want to explore the finding the brewmaster and getting somebody in here to work. And because I know that based on what you were talking about before, you and your sisters kind of had a vision, and your husbands too.
Yes.
Kind of had a vision of what this place would be. Talk to us about finding the brewmaster that could get you there.
Well, that was a difficult task because we didn't even know how to interview a brewmaster. So we had to hire a consultant that knew more, obviously, to like.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We don't even, hey, how do you brew beer? So we didn't even know what to ask him or how to know if he was a good brewer, he or she. So we hired a consultant to do the interviewing and then give us feedback on multiple candidates. And we ended on the gentleman we landed on. He was perfect for the Three Blondes. It was a great relationship. He's not our brewer anymore, but he developed the recipes for our main beer. He had come from Greenbush, which is in Sawyer, Michigan. So he had some experience under his belt, like running a small to medium-sized brewery. And so he helped get all our equipment in and let us know what we needed to order and developed some of the mainstays that we still have today. He was, the main recipes was
like Boom Boom Betty?
Like Boom Boom Betty, named after my grandma Boom Boom. That's our signature blonde ale, the most popular beer. And he was really creative. We kind of gave him we need a range of beers to cover all this, the styles, but it also has to be for the people who are coming in just to visit the restaurant that don't really drink beer. We need pretty basic beer too.
Yes.
Like the everyday person's beer. That's not Miller Lite because we're not allowed to sell those. We have to sell only what we make. So I think he did a great job in the initial run of beers. And then he even did barrel aging beers. So he was awesome, fun to work with, put up with the Three Blondes. It was great.
Now, when we talk about, because this really is kind of the main part of your business. So you were having to hire an expert to come in and actually do this. My question to you is did you ever sit there and lay awake at night thinking, what if this guy just walks away in there? Because this, like I said, this is your main thing. If he just disappears and you come in one day and he's no longer here, you're scrambling to now try to find somebody to fill their shoes. So how was it to let go of that control?
We still have that fear every day because I'm a CPA. I don't brew beer. So at any time that could happen to us, but we just make sure they have careful records, and we try to treat everyone really well so they wouldn't have a reason to just disappear. But I've heard horror stories from other places, other business owners, that this has happened to them, and it's terrifying for someone to leave. But you just have to trust the process, and
yes, and everything's going to work out.
Yeah.
Now, is it one of those things where, because before you were talking about recipes that they come up with to make your signature Boom Boom Betty, right? If the brewmaster did leave, does one of your staff, could they step up and continue to make this until you got another brewmaster in here, or how does that work?
Yes. Now we're big enough where we have assistant brewers, thankfully. So the assistant brewers can always step into that role. So that's helpful. And then all the recipes are written down. And then it's typical if a brewer leaves a brewery, they don't take their recipes with them. It's property of the brewery. So we don't have an issue like, oh, we won't be able to replicate that Boom Boom
Right.
Betty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thankfully we're covered there.
Now, at what point because you get everything up that's up and running, you've got the restaurant going, you've got the beer going. At what point in time did you say to yourself, holy cow, this is actually working?
I say that all the time to myself still. I cannot believe that this is what we're doing. But when we made money our first year, and normally new businesses, let alone in the restaurant and brewery space,
right,
you typically don't make money in your first year. But we had a really rocking summer, thank goodness, because summer is the best time to come to South Haven. So we opened, it was good and bad. We opened to large crowds, which is tough to handle when you're a brand new business. But thank goodness we had the volume, because that, carried us through. So then we're like, okay, we're making money. Maybe we can pay ourselves now, because you don't start out that way.
No, you definitely don't. And what I would like to do now is talk about, because you made a comment before about how you're a restaurant and brewery. How do you develop the menus? Did you hire a chef to come in and do that for you?
Yes. We also had a restaurant consultant who stayed with us on with us for 6 months. He was also a South Haven graduate and happened to be one of my brother-in-law's good friends. So that helped.
There you go.
They were close friends, like best man in his wedding. So, and he had a lot of expertise in opening and running restaurants. So he did the menu, he did the staffing, he did the kitchen layout. We have a very big kitchen compared to most breweries.
Right.
Are not afraid of food. I won't say that, but they focus on beer because they're brewers usually. So we knew to have the volume, we had to have food and a big menu and big volume for that. So we have a very large kitchen for what most breweries have.
Right.
So, and that's because our chef was like, you're going to need some space. Unfortunately, he took all the space out of the office and I don't have any place to sit back there, but that's okay. There's plenty of space on the grill for your food.
Now, how do you come up with, because I know you before we were talking about the vision for the brewery and the beers coming in. What about that menu? Or did you just offload it and say, you know what, these are the kind of beers we got, just come up with food that tastes good with them? Yeah,
that's basically what we said. And he created the whole menu. So, and we wanted a variety because he had input from the blondes, and we're sometimes picky. So we did have some specifications. 2 of us are vegetarians. So we have a lot of good vegetarian options and vegan, which I know people appreciate because it's getting better now, I think, in the restaurant space to have vegetarian options, but there weren't many in South Haven. That was another problem when we want to go out in South Haven. There wouldn't be many vegetarian options. So we have a lot of those options. And then also for the gluten-free folks, we try to keep some gluten-free options for those with that dietary restriction, although it's tough to drink beer when you're gluten-free. So we do have cider options for those folks too. But we kind of ran the gamut. So we got tacos that are really good. Pizza. We just were voted best pizza in South Haven in 2024.
Hang your hat on that.
So yes, we have been working on our pizza hard. It's definitely changed from when we first started. We got different pizza ovens. We sent some of our cooks to pizza school.
Wait a minute. You got different pizza ovens?
Yeah, we changed out
you
the
are serious.
Yeah, we're serious. Our pizza oven kept breaking and it just wasn't meeting our standards. So we got a different kind of like a conveyor belt pizza oven, which, conveyor belt, that's consistency because it's like it goes in and goes out at the exact same amount of time for every pizza. We had like hot spots in our old oven. So some pizzas would come out a little darker, not with the conveyor oven. And then we sent some of our staff to pizza school to get our dough honed in. And now, we were so excited when we won the best local pizza it was a Herald Palladium best of South Haven vote.
Right.
So that was exciting.
Because I think a lot of people don't get the fact that there's actually a real science to making pizza. I mean, people just think that, you just throw a crust and some stuff on there and put it in the oven and it's good to go. But the really good pizza, there is a science to that.
Yeah. Yes. And so we learned that at pizza school and we changed how we did the dough. And then we tried to come up with some really creative toppings. We have a good pickle pizza, perfectly pickled. Oh my gosh. It's my favorite pizza. I could eat it all the time. And it's not your typical like pickle bacon ranch. That's what you normally see. It's a garlic aioli base, which I thought sounded not good, but oh my gosh, it's delicious. So don't judge it till you try it.
Yes.
And we have sweet hottie pickles. So they're like a little bit sweeter than the dill, but we also have dill pickles. And then we have pickled onions because perfectly pickled. We're putting all the pickles on them.
I'm a big fan of pickled onions.
Yeah, so good. And then actual dill sprinkled on the top. And pepperoncinis, just to, add a little spice in there. Not pepperoni, pepperoncini, and it's vegetarian. So good.
This is great. So let me ask you this question here. It's actually, there's going to be two questions this one. First, if somebody's listening to this and they come here and so what can they expect when they walk in? But also, I want you to share with us maybe some of the most popular dishes that you have, or maybe a dish that you would recommend.
Besides the perfectly pickled pizza?
Yes, besides perfectly pickled pizza and the Boom Boom Betty.
Well, what they can expect when they walk in, it's a different vibe from summer to winter. So South Haven is a tourist town, and we are so busy in the summer. So will be busy if you come in the summer. There'll likely be a wait. Most restaurants in South Haven don't take reservations, so be prepared for that in all of South Haven. There's a few. So we have a gorgeous outdoor patio for when you're waiting, and there's an outdoor bar out there so you can grab a drink while you wait, and there's sidewalk chalk for the kids to play with. We also just got a couple of arcade games inside upstairs. So you
are family friendly.
Family friendly. You can give your kids a couple of bucks, maybe 20, give them a 20 to spend money at the arcade. Or maybe mom and dad want it with vintage arcade games. So we got Tetris, we got Cruisin' World. I used to love to do Cruisin' World, claw machine. So send your kids up to entertain them while you're waiting, while mom and dad have a beer, and then you'll get seated. In the winter, though, usually there's no wait. You can come right in, sit down. You can still send your kids up to our mini arcade, which we partner with a local arcade in town. He's the one that helps us with the arcade, Rocket Arcade. Shout out to Rocket Arcade. And then enjoy some beer, cider, cocktails soon. Don't quote me on the date, but those are coming. And then the food items. So besides the perfectly pickled, which, obviously I can't stop mentioning, we also have a Rangoon pizza, crab Rangoon, that people rave about. As a vegetarian, I don't eat that, but it's like a cult favorite. People come here just for the crab Rangoon. I know. And we're not just a pizza place either. Our tacos are amazing. We have really good burgers with some unique burger options, or you can create your own. And then we usually throw in some entrees, like you can get steak if you want to be fancy. But if you don't want to be fancy, you can get cheese curds or a tender basket.
So you got, not only is it just full pizza, though, you can get all kinds of appetizers and everything else when you come here.
The whole gamut.
Yeah.
And kids menu, of course, and kids little stuff they can draw on. Keep those kiddos entertained.
So let me ask you this question here, because you've clearly now gotten a lot of experiences. You opened this in 2018?
Yes.
2018. So the question I got for you is, if you could go back and tell your younger self from 2018 something that would help them out, what would that be?
Oh, man. That's tough. Just be prepared for anything. Like adapt and overcome was our mantra, especially during COVID. Like we turned the inside of this restaurant, which no one could eat in. We made it a pickleball court for the family because, what else do you do? It was closed down in the inside. So we were playing pickleball in here with mom and dad, but just be ready for anything. You can't get so stuck on any one idea because it's going to change. So adapt and overcome. But that's what we still do now.
Oh, that's great. And speaking of which, because I know you mentioned before about COVID, did you do what every other restaurant did and just say, hey, you can pick up your food here and take it home with you? Is that how you basically got through?
Yeah, I don't think closed down for a full week that whole time. We had, unfortunately, of course, had to lay off most of our staff. We kept our head chef on, and we did like 24-hour order in advance. He would come here, cook all the orders by himself, because this was when you didn't know if you could have contact with anyone. So he'd be in the kitchen cooking everything by himself, all the orders that he got. And then we'd have a pickup window. We turned our little garage into a pickup window over there, and folks would pick it up. And then we just did strictly to-goes, and we had all the igloo. We had 4 igloos out there, and we even got a carport and made it into a dining space and a little greenhouse. So people did embrace eating outdoors, thank goodness. And we still have our dome out. We call it the Blonde Dome. We still put one up every winter.
Oh, okay.
And we've got a few folks who have made it an annual tradition to come dine in the dome. Even though it's not nearly as popular as it was, but it's still fun. Like I know folks book it every New Year's Day to go out and dine in the Dome with their family. It's awesome.
Oh, that's actually kind of cute. And before you were talking about distribution.
Yes.
So do you actually take your beer and you have it distributed on
in
shelves
Michigan?
in
Yes.
Michigan.
So
Okay.
we sign up with a distribution company that does all that for us. They buy the beer from us and then go distribute it to stores and restaurants. So their biggest customer is the Meijer right here in South Haven.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we're only in Meijer, South Haven. Of the Meijers, we're only in the Meijer in South Haven, but they sell a ton of our product. It's awesome. It's crazy. It's just a mile
Beautiful.
down the road from us. But then we're also in other places as far as in the UP, in stores, and we have a beer finder on our website. If anyone's curious how close to where they can get the beer, just go to the beer finder on our website and it can tell you the closest store to you or restaurant where we might be on tap. So.
Right. And then as far as distribution goes of the beer that you sell here, was that always a part of the plan as well? Or did that come later? Like somebody was like, man, I wish I could buy this in the grocery store.
It was a part of the plan. You definitely don't make as much money on distribution. So that wasn't our plan. And we thought we were going to scale up even larger with distribution, but that didn't exactly come to fruition. But even our external accountants were like, your distribution plan is stupid, insane. I was like, okay, fine.
Wait a minute. Stupid, insane, good? Stupid, insane, bad?
Like we thought we would bulk it up real good. And it wasn't that crazy, which is fine. Because that makes us we focus more on the restaurant and the brewery, the local focus, which is, it's worked out just fine.
Perfect. And if somebody is listening to this and they want to come and check you out, find you online, stop in here, try the Boom Boom Betty, how do they find you?
Well, we have a website, threeblondesbrewing.com. The 3 is spelled out and blonde has an E in it. What's also cool is we just, Google Street View. We just got the Google Street View option where you can not only see the outside of the building, but you can click into the building. So if you go on Google, you can go right into Three Blondes and kind of take your own virtual tour.
That's cool.
Yeah, they talked us into that. And it is cool because then you can, and just instead of seeing the outside, you can go click on the inside and you can come right into the dining area and then you can go out to the patio and kind of check that out through Google Street View. It's really fun. I encourage people to check it out. It's cool.
Yes. Carrie, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Cliff. This is fun. I hope everyone comes out to Three Blondes Brewing, 1875 Phoenix Street.
Oh, everybody will.
Okay, good.
All right, twist their arm.
And we have a jet ski dealership next door. If you need a jet ski, have a beer.
Awesome. Carrie, thank you again. And for our audience, you can always roll on over to totalmichigan.com, click on Carrie's interview, and get the links that she mentioned above. We'll talk to you next time when we talk to another Michigander doing some pretty extraordinary things. We'll see you then.